Hey ho, let's go. Hope everyone is well. Welcome to Pugsley's Pit, where there are no unwritten rules. Not here, not now, not ever. Anything goes. As always, welcome back to our valued listeners. And for those who might be joining us for the first time, welcome to Pugsley's Pit. And as we always do, start off the show, we begin by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Where is it? Oh my God, I'm screwing up the graphics department again right now.
Dude,
I know.
you're playing hurt. You're like Willis Reed coming out of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Little under the weather. I'm sorry, a lot under the weather.
We're going to milk him for 5 good minutes, and then we're going to kick him out of here.
We tried to get Chris Vitale on here, but I didn't want to turn into Wally Pip.
Yeah. Well, people pay a lot of money for these tickets, so we don't.
They do.
This isn't the NBA. There's no load management bullshit going on here. This is like people pay a lot of money, to make fun of us and our terrible takes on baseball. So we want to give the people we want to give our valued listener his money's worth.
And on that note, as by way of introduction, episode 92 of Pugsley's Pit, I am Sean Pugsley Martin. This is Mike Nelson. NL West to close out the previews opening day tomorrow. Unless you're a Met and Philly fan, they've already been rained out. You can follow the show on Twitter at Pugsley's Pit. Our Twitter handles are loaded. That's the danger of starting on the East Coast, but what are you going to do? So
I knew I should have bought a Friday ticket, dude, and that would have been opening day. I knew it.
Yeah, right.
$227 upper level opening day for tomorrow. Wow. And they were down to like 80 for Friday, and I should have bought the Friday tickets.
Got it. All right, so we're gonna go in reverse order today because I'm not long for this show. We're gonna turn it over to Mike. He'll fly it solo. Almost certainly going to get interrupted by the boys, but that's okay. We're going to open with a pitch clock launch angle segment. And I'm going to go first.
Yeah, you're towing the bump this week.
Yeah. Like I said, there's no rules. We have to worry about any format. We do whatever we want.
No. You're right. It's our gig.
Yes, sir. So
if you subscribe and want to comment on YouTube, then knock yourselves out. But we've been reading those comments, and they've been very, very empty. Not a lot of substance in those comments to date. None.
Yeah, right. Whoop! Hold on. Get out of there. Get out of there, pitch clock.
That's a giant. That's part of the new rules. That corresponds with the bigger bases.
Yeah,
the pitch clock is now that big.
I forgot to load it the first time, so. All right, so NL West. Here we go. It's going to be an interesting division this year. So we'll add the clock. There it is. All right, Dodgers. I hate to say it. How does Dave Roberts still have a job? One World Series win during this run of unbelievable spending. Will Smith got paid today. And that win, and to me, it's not an asterisk. It was the COVID year. It was a 60-game season. That's nobody's fault. But they haven't won at 162, and that team just is the pitching staff is done by the time they get to October. He hasn't figured out postseason yet, despite all that payroll and all those players. San Francisco, I like the late additions of Blake Snell and Matt Chapman. As an A's fan, don't be alarmed by Chapman's 246 batting average and bevy of strikeouts. He'll hit a little, not as much as you think he will, but he's going to give you great defense. San Diego, they lowered their payroll, but I think they could challenge for the playoffs. And I'm going over my time, but who cares? Arizona, I like the Jordan Montgomery signing a lot, but I don't think they're a playoff team. They got a pretty good pitching staff there. I think Gallen was a little bit out over his skis last year. But Montgomery's a good sign for them. And Colorado, you're the Oakland A's of the National League without the threat of moving. That's kind of what it is. They're terrible.
They're awful.
They're terrible.
They're bad.
They can't get any good pitching because of the altitude they play in. They don't even try. And who will go there unless you're Mike Hampton?
But then you add the humidor, and so their power sucks now. So they're great.
Yeah, right.
We'll chat about those guys briefly.
All right. Now,
Very
Mike,
good.
you are on the clock, my friend. You can launch whichever act of brilliance I just gave you.
So I'm going to launch two because they're kind of a coupled entry. I don't think the Padres are going to make the playoffs. I just don't. I mean, I know they got Dylan Cease, but who's going to pitch for them? Who's going to close for them? That lineup, they're Marlins West, and I do think you're off. I do think you're a little off kilter with the Diamondbacks.
Really?
I think the Diamondbacks they're not going to challenge the Dodgers for the division, but I think they're, depending on how hurt Eddie Rodriguez is, they've really bolstered their pitching staff with five. Now they go 5 deep, and I like that team. They're a year older. They're a hungry team. I think I would launch the Padres making the playoffs and launch the Diamondbacks not making the playoffs. The other three, I agree with you. Dave Roberts is a dope. I don't know how you're right. I mean, he's Aaron Boone. What's the difference? Except for now the Yankees don't spend like they used to. But when you're given that kind of payroll leeway and you win a shortened season bubble World Series and dominate the 162 and don't get it done in the playoffs, at some point in time, the manager's got to be held responsible.
But they don't get it done every single year.
They don't get it done forever.
I mean,
the same draw. I mean, take that World Series out. Just take it out. Like, just call that whole season a mulligan, and their droughts as long as the Yankees, if not longer. It's unbelievable. So I agree with that. I do agree with the Giants, and they could be sneaky. I mean, Bob Melvin's a really good manager, right?
Yeah, he is.
But they're still their lineup is still set up as a platoon lineup. They don't have very many plug and play and all situation players. Their pitching staff, when Robbie Ray comes back to add to Snell, their pitching staff's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Jordan Hicks could really make a difference. And then the Rockies, my God, please. I mean, as much as the A's fans want the A's to stay in Oakland, and I'm pretty sure you're sick because of what you've read the last 2 days on the recent developments about where they may play now.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm over it. I want them. I want them gone. I don't want the city to re-up them for those 3 years. That's like a girl coming up to you and say, "Look, I found something better, but they're not going to be divorced for 3 or 4 more years. So I'm going to hang out with you until
we're going to live together, but we're going to get divorced anyway. We'll live together in the same house."
Yeah.
But Sacramento, now it's Sacramento.
I'll kiss my ass, Sacramento. They almost lost the Kings. They should know what it's like.
But it's real conversation, like negotiation with Sacramento to play there for 3 years. Yeah. But the Rockies fans, if you wanted to get rid of a team, and they don't, because they still do draw pretty well. I mean, it's a beautiful setting for baseball. The park's gorgeous. But if you want a team to be gone, it's almost, they're in the same boat as a lot of teams, right? The owner's an idiot, and I just get rid of them. Like, how come the Walton family couldn't package that a deal? Yeah. When they ruined they couldn't ruin the Rockies anymore. They ruined the Broncos. Well, how could they ruin the Rockies anymore? They're already ruined.
I'm loving that. But anyway, different sport. I digress.
So yeah, we'll dive in. We'll do a little team by team dive in and talk about some interesting players and some ads. And
yeah,
I'll give you my over under projections while you take amoxicillin. I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but I would recommend Jack Daniels. If I'm prescribing, and I'm not, I would recommend.
I could go back and relive the 18 beer effort from Saturday, the 35th annual fantasy baseball draft we had. That had nothing to do with this illness. I caught it from one of my kids. And I will say that the 20 minutes I've been to this computer is about 15 minutes longer than I've had my head off the pillow in the last 2 days.
Yep.
So
Willis Reed, you can change your handle to Willis Reed.
I will try. All right, my friend.
On that, got their money's worth. They can boo when you go to the locker room. It's fine. We still sold tickets. They got to see you.
Sure.
There's no contract that says you got to play 48. You just got they just wanted to see you.
My consecutive podcast streak remains. So
yeah. A little Ripkenish. Got a bad toe. I'm going to take an at bat.
All right, my man. I'm going to give it to you here, and if you do a good job on graphics, it may become your permanent job because clearly
I will make sure. Well, look, like I can do worse than we've been doing so far.
That's true.
The production staff, you're passing the production staff to the left-handed idiot instead of the right-handed idiot. That's going to be great.
All right, my man. I'm out.
Feel better.
Enjoy. Thank you.
Oh man, this is like the parents going away for the weekend and telling you not to have a party, and you do, and all the neighbors find out, and then you get in trouble for it. So we're going to try not to get in trouble while Sean recovers from his malady. And we did pitch clock in reverse order this week, which is good because Sean did grind it out for as much time as he could grind it out. And then I'm just going to kind of go through the divisions, right? And we're going to start with the Dodgers because they're easy to start with. Their over-under is 103.5. I personally don't think they're going to hit 103.5. I think they're going to be really close. They're going to win over 100 games. I mean, their lineup is crazy good. When you add Ohtani to a lineup that was already really good, you get Gavin Lux back, and that experiment with Mookie playing short and Lux playing second. We'll see how long that lasts. Maybe Lux gets his confidence back and they flip-flop him. So I'm not as great as Mookie is at every place as he's ever played. He's probably better suited to be a second baseman than a shortstop, but we'll see. You can't underestimate the guy. All he does is be great wherever you put him. Their lineup, Will Smith's great. I love Outman. They had Teoscar Hernandez. Man, they're going to score a ton of runs, right? And not a lineup. Not only does it have depth and not a lot of holes, but they're not prone to long slumps. They've got guys that Freddie Freeman hits all the time. That's what he does. Can they pitch, right? The early verdict on Yamamoto, no bueno, right? Not good, but still early, still getting himself acclimated to being in the United States, being on the big stage, a lot of expectation that is new to him, learning new teammates, all that. Had to pitch early, not really a full spring training to get fully acclimated, didn't fare well in Korea. But, Tyler Glass now looks good. Can he stay healthy? The rest of the rotation, we'll see. It's either young or it's injured. When they're fully healthy, when Kershaw comes back at some point, when Dustin May comes back at some point, when they get, Gratterall back in the bullpen, and when they add Walker Buehler, their rotation's really, really good. So on paper, they should blow everybody out. They should win the division by 15 games. It should be over in August. But just something about it doesn't give me the feeling James Paxton, the right place for him, right? You only got to give me 5 innings and we'll figure it out from there. We're going to score enough runs. It's a great spot for him. He's going to give up 6. They're going to score 8, so he'll be fine. So that's the Dodgers. I'm hedging under on them. I'm probably an idiot, and I don't like the Dodgers, so that's probably where it comes from. Then the next 3 teams are all over under 83.5. So that shows you kind of what the boys in Vegas think about the rest of this division and how they're going to battle it out. And we'll start with San Francisco, right? Nice ad. Adding Blake Snell, good ad for them. They get Robbie Ray back in the middle of the summer. They got a Jordan Hicks experiment going on. And if he's anything, they get Alex Cobb back. They've got Logan Webb. They've got, Kyle Harrison. Their rotation looks really good. They've got a really good closer in Doval. Their lineup still sets up like a platoon lineup. And I don't know how Bob Melvin's going to manage that, where they don't have a lot of guys that they can plug into a position and them be there all the time, right? I mean, Tiro Estrada, really nice player. They had Lee. We'll see. Same thing. Another guy coming over from Korea in this case to play center field. I mean, I think Estrada is underappreciated. The Matt Chapman signing, they got him for a pretty good price. He'll play phenomenal defense. He'll probably hit great until Memorial Day, and then he won't hit a lick, but he'll still be a solid third baseman. The rest of it, they got to figure out. I mean, Jorge Soler, we'll see. Michael Conforto, professional hitter. The guy's a professional hitter, but Mike, yes, but they're all better suited to play to their strength and not be everyday players. So we'll see how Bob Melvin manages that. But they do have the ace in the hole. They did sign the guy that the Red Sox are still paying, Pablo Sandoval, and maybe he can turn back the clock 100 years and contribute a little bit if he makes the team. So I haven't seen whether he's made or not made the team yet. Next up we go to the Padres, right? I like to call the Padres Marlins West. Now their over-under is 83.5. Now back to the Giants are 83.5. I think they'll go slightly over. I think they're 84 to 86, but they could easily be 82 to 80. They'll be right around 500. They should be right around 500. They could sneak up on people and be better than people think. The Padres, I think, are not going to be as good as people think. I mean, yes, they had Dylan Cease, but you lose Waka, Lugo, and Snell. And now you got Cease with Musgrave and the ageless Yu Darvish. And same thing as last year. Who pitches, right? Who pitches? We'll see how Dylan Cease does. He's going to give him innings. There's no doubt about it. Then you go to their bullpen. Losing Josh Hader moves everybody up a notch. They signed Suzuki. They think he's going to be the closer, but now Suarez is going to close. He already closed the first save opportunity in Korea. So they're going to have to figure a bullpen out. They lose Nick Martinez, who was swinging for them in both roles and did it really well. I mean, I just don't get it with how they treat pitching. And I also think that their roster's constructed in a way that just doesn't blend, and it's proven it doesn't blend, right? Tatis is a stud. Look at, I'm already behind the graphics. Tatis is a stud. There's been rumored to try to trade him a couple of times, but his contract and his past discretions are probably part of the reason why they haven't. I don't know why you would. You've got to have a face of a franchise. He's probably it. Manny Machado is getting older. Bogarts, they had to move to second base because he's not as good at short anymore. They move Kim over to short. We'll see. I mean, Cronenworth at first base, that's great. Campusano is a nice young catcher. Jackson Merrill, I'm excited to see play. I think he's they keep bringing guys up that can play. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, Mike Schultz got his hands full there. Right, he's got his hands full with a lot of young guys that, he's an old school baseball guy. He wants to do things the way you're supposed to do things. And, from all accounts, that's what wore his welcome out in St. Louis. And I just think that the Padres are destined for 78 wins again. I just feel like they will have these outbursts where they'll score, they'll win 13-1. They'll get great offense, great pitching, and then they'll lose the series because they just don't look like a hungry team to me. They don't look like a team. Look like a team that expects to win, not a team that's working to win. And I think when that's the way that you're presenting yourself, other teams take advantage of it, right? It looks like they get outworked many, many times. And, I do watch the Padres. I do like to watch Tatis. I really do. I like to watch his at-bats. I like to watch him play. But, man, they're tough to watch because they drive you crazy. I mean, being a Padre fan would make me insane. I'm already insane as a Yankee fan. They would make me insane. But, they'll break this thing up. They'll try to trade Machado. They'll keep breaking it up and keep putting it back together and breaking it up, putting it back together. And then, boom, they'll make a huge signing out of somewhere and you'll be like, oh, I guess they're back in. And it just doesn't, it's just whatever they're doing, whatever they're putting in the pot for a recipe, it just doesn't seem to be working. Next up, we go to the Diamondbacks, the National League representative in the World Series, and Sean is down on them, and they're 83.5. They had Jordan Montgomery, another Scott Boras client who's on a short deal. None of his clients are getting the money that he wants them to get. So they add Montgomery. If Eduardo Rodriguez isn't terribly hurt and this injury allows them to pitch in a month. They go 5 deep in their rotation. I mean, Zach Gallen's very good. Very good. Merrill Kelly, all he does is throw up quality starts. That's all he does. I mean, he's not spectacular. He's not overpowering. He's not, he's kind of boring to watch, but man, the guy wins games and he keeps them in games. And Brandon Pfaadt is a nice young, really showed himself well in the playoffs and in the playoffs and in the World Series. And now he's comfortable. And he's in a role now where he could literally be the 5th starter when everybody's healthy. So how, you could do a lot worse than having him as your 5th starter and helping him get comfortable making 25, 28, 32 starts in the majors this year if they don't put him on an innings limit, and they probably will. The bullpen's going to be a little shaky until Sewell comes back. He's out to start the season, but Kevin Ginkel gets guys out and he strikes guys out. And Miguel Castro gets guys out, and their bullpen was pretty good last year. Their bullpen was, when it got put together after the trade deadline, and when they put that bullpen together in the second half of the season, that bullpen was really good, and it showed itself in the playoffs when they really needed it. So pitching wise, I think they're in a really good spot. I love the lineup, and I love the lineup for 2 key reasons. One, Corbin Carroll is an electric player. He's only going to get better. Like, these young players are only going to get better. I just feel like, adding Eugenio Suarez at 3rd, huge signing. Adding Jock Peterson and Randall Grichuk for some depth in the outfield, brilliant move. Give them some pop off the bench, spell some guys, let Alec Thomas and Jake McCarty figure out whether they're belong every day or not. But then you've got options instead. Lourdes Gurriel coming back as a good signing. I mean, they moved Perdomo to short, and so there's no more trying to figure it out at shortstop, and he's a serviceable glue guy in your lineup who just gets stuff done, right? And he doesn't hurt you in the field at all. He's a good fit. Ketel Marte, Walker at first, Moreno, a rising star behind the plate at catcher. I mean, this is a good baseball team. They're in a tough division, right? They're in a division that doesn't allow them to show what they really are, because they're going to be 10 games behind the Dodgers all year. And the fact that they beat the Dodgers in the playoffs last year was amazing, because the Dodgers obliterated them in the regular season pretty ritually. So, it's good that ownership showed faith in this team by making quick early decisions to add players to make them stronger coming off a World Series year. I'm sure the fans in Arizona love that. I know there's continued rumor and talk about them angling for a new ballpark, but that seems to have died down for the moment, because I have family out there that mentioned that a number of different times. Torey Lovullo is a really good manager. They've got a great staff. I mean, I'm high on I'm really high on the Diamondbacks, and 83.5. I think they're closer to 90. I don't think they'll go over 90, but I think they're closer to 90. I would definitely go over for sure on Arizona. But I mean, what do I know? I was 40% last year, and Vegas has 3 teams at 83.5. So Vegas is saying these 3 teams are going to battle around 500. I still think there's going to be 2 teams from this division that are going to make the playoffs. I don't think there's going to be 2 from the Central, though I would be surprised. I don't think there's going to be more than 2 from the East. There could be 3 teams that come out of this division to make the playoffs. The Dodgers are a lock just as much as the Braves are. And then from there, they're going to battle it out. And then we'll end with nobody's favorite, the second worst run organization in baseball, the Colorado Rockies. They're over under 60.5. They're going under. They're a bad baseball team. And they've got Philly local kid and Holy Ghost prep grad Nolan Jones and Ezekiel Tovar and maybe Brent Doyle. We'll find out about him as young players that they are high on. They should be high on Jones. They should be high on Tovar. They just gave him a 7-year deal. But, they got the ghost of Chris Bryant. They've got 175-year-old Charlie Blackmon. Maybe they turn back the clock. They have zero pitching. No, they have no pitching. I mean, Kyle Freeland's nice, but Gomber's out. Marquez is out. Like, I don't know who's going to pitch. Cal Quantrill in Colorado. Good luck. The bullpen is a thrift store for teams that are going to be looking to make moves at the deadline. So guys that can pitch and get guys out, they'll move because they're not committed to it. Lawrence is the closer. I mean, Daniel Bard was ruined in the World Baseball Classic. He has not bounced back from that. He was emotionally destroyed in the WBC, and he never came back from that at all. And it's a shame, but he's in their bullpen. They're going to have to pitch him. They don't really have a choice. They're just going to be constantly in a position where they're playing uphill. And to play uphill all year, if they get to 55 wins, I think they would have had a good season, to be honest with you. And they have an owner that thinks 500 is okay. So if I was a fan of the Rockies, I would be furious, right? I would be begging for a new owner. I would be, I would try not to go to games, though it is a great place to watch a baseball game. It's a beautiful stadium and a beautiful setting. It's kind of hard to not go unless it's snowing, which it could very well be in the next month. But just a terrible baseball team. I mean, all of these teams would have a higher over-under if the schedule wasn't balanced. If they were in the days of playing 18 games a year, you would be looking at 14-4 against the Rockies for all of these teams and maybe 18-0 for the Dodgers. So add 3 wins to the over-under totals for the Giants, Diamondbacks, and Padres because they'd get to play the Rockies 18 times. And the Rockies are going to trip into victories when other teams don't hit, and they're going to surprise some people when you don't think they're going to, and they're going to have some success against the number 5 starters, and that's about it. I mean, I don't see, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I want this owner to fail because I want him to sell the team, and when you own anything and your goal is to be 50%, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, he's just not hiding the fact that if he sells it, he's going to get $1 billion. That's just all he's saying. I don't care how the team does. I know it's worth a ton, so I'm okay. And that's not, clearly that's not good for baseball, and it's certainly not good for the fans in Colorado. So we're short and sweet. We don't have our traditional banter, and because Sean is under the weather, but I would say, we did all 6 divisions. We will next week, as the season kicks off, it's opening day. I mean, it starts for real. I know they played 2 games. It didn't seem like they were real when they played them, getting up at 5:30 in the morning to get ready for real work, and watching baseball is not, it's not terrible, but it's certainly not something that you plan to do all the time. But we start for real. Now it starts for real. Now it's the, hope springs eternal. It's all of the romanticizing about baseball, and it's everything that everybody hopes it's going to be. And let the Twitter explosion start tomorrow when everybody's favorite team gets beat that they think is going to go 162-0. Hasn't happened yet. I don't expect it to happen again. So we'll probably give our World Series predictions and playoff predictions for sure next week as we jump into what will likely be some West Coast guests and a discussion about Ohtani-san and this crap show that now everybody has to deal with, and they don't want to. It's a mess, and we'll talk further about that as we go along, and then as we start to ingrain ourselves more in the Ball 9 platform, we'll dedicate probably a good 15 minutes a week to fantasy baseball, especially for folks that are in head-to-head leagues, for who's hot, who's not, who looks like they'd be good matchup players, and and head-to-head, and then some hidden gems that are floating around that aren't in people's leagues that people might want to look at. And that's that. So with that in mind, I say to you, I bid you adieu. And I leave you with this. Was just for fun. Those days are gone. Living alone